40 minutes in front of these drivers and plenty of opportunities.
But yes, a bit of point of contention, but it doesn't matter now, Ron. We're going green.
Drivers are on their way, and it's a rather convincing start from Joyner. He's going to be leading them comfortably. Heading through this bend, it tightens up though before they head off into turn number 8. This is going to be very close.
What is that?
Based off the fact you sound like you sat on a cold toilet seat there, Adam, but that was insane. And Kramer was mega sideways coming out of turn number 8.
That one got me. That one got me.
Look at this conga line. Dun 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 dun. Who was it that came up for the? Oh, that was Tolo coming in. Well, hello and happy Easter, everybody. Welcome back to Slow Motion Broadcasting, and welcome back to the Formula Ford Weekend Warriors. This is round number 5 of this season, coming to you today from Knockhill. My name is Ron Maunz. Alongside me in the commentary booth is Charles Boshell. Guido Marzucchi is our producer for today's broadcast. We continue on with this Formula Ford season, heading to an old-school racetrack, which has seen some rather exciting racing in the past year in this series. Charles, we were talking right before we got this broadcast underway about how these Formula Ford cars seem very much so at home at this track up there in Scotland.
Yeah, absolutely. As we were talking, I mentioned that, in the iRacing sim, at least, my familiarity with Knockhill was the Porsche Cup action, the Carrera Cup GB that runs here, I think, pretty much every year. Just fantastic racing for single makes. And watching the practice here, these cars look really suited to this track. They're almost full tilt most of the way around. There'll be some trouble spots here. I'm sure we'll talk about them as we're approaching the start of this race. But just fantastic racing. Track's plenty wide enough. Lots of elevation changes. Some very, very tight cornering. Obviously, you'll see. So we're looking on screen with some sausage curbs and some chicane. Some chicanery is going to be part of the menu here for today.
Yeah, and looking at these drivers hauling the mail and whacking the curbs around here, I drew some comparisons to some shifter card racing. And really, I don't think anything could be said truer in just these drivers going to be licking the stamp and sending it around this racetrack right towards the end of this qualifying session, but still have enough time to follow some of these drivers. Not the biggest grid that we've had thus far this season, but still a lot of heavy hitters. And the return of our reigning champion here from the Formula Ford's Ian Joyner. He's currently right in front of our sponsor for today's broadcast here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. That is Juan Garcia. Because he's a sponsor, we'll do a quick little onboard lap with him. Heading down that start-finish straightaway, off into Duffus Dip, as our colleague Mr. Randall McGrew likes to call it. Down into 1 and 2, hitting those curbs. Now setting yourself up on the left-hand side through McIntyre of turn 3. This is Butcher's corner of turn number 4. And if you get that wrong, you're going to butcher your run through the chicane. Look at that full commitment on the curbs. Those red curbs going to be eaten with cereal for breakfast for these racers. That's turn 7 of Clark up over the hill, cresting it with a lot of gravel strewn about on the outside line. That may be a thing that we have to talk about throughout this race. That's a railway straightaway down into the final corner of Taylor's, turn number 9. It's a quick lap around here. Joiner's pole time currently in the 50s, 51.174 to be a bit more precise. So this may be one of the quickest and most violently chaotic laps we have this season.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. And yeah, it is a very, very short track. But you can see it's going to give you a workout. Now, these cars coming through here is going to be, you got to be on it the entire lap, and it's going to be fun to watch. And yeah, it's not the biggest grid in the world, because I don't think Knockhill really gets a lot of play through iRacing. It's just not used near as much as some of the other tracks that we would visit. But yeah, I think it's going to be a fantastic race. I'm really looking forward to this. There's going to be some turns and some spills and maybe a little iron brew on top of it, and we'll have some fun with it.
And as it stands at the present moment, I think we may load up some points here and kind of talk about how things have gone thus far this season for these racers. In Spec 1, Felix Samoas is your championship leader, 347 points on the board. Trent Kramer and Sean Doyle rounding at the top 3, pretty close between Doyle and Tufts, only 2 points separating those two racers in 3rd and 4th. Rasmus Rory, off the back of 2 straight wins, rounds out your top 5 with the Spec 1 point standings. Moving on now to Spec 2, where it's been the story of dominance for Dan Witzak. He's had a clean sweep of the races thus far. Won't call him the janitor just yet, because that's usually the time that the falling anvil comes down and strikes these drivers on top of their head. Dustin Meehan slotted in 2nd, Fabian Singer rounding out your top 3 in the Spec 2 points. Gotta take a quick on look at Masters, where as it stands presently, it is Antonio Reese leading that championship. He's off the back of 2 straight wins, and he leads the points. Jeff Wubker slotted in 2nd, Jim Brewster, York Money, and Alan DeGassis rounding out your top 5 in the Masters category. So that's how it looks like in terms of the points. Have a feeling, though, that considering that Ian Joyner has returned, and based off the show of dominance he puts on at this very same racetrack, albeit in the rain 1 season ago, he may end up being the driver to keep an eye on and grab his first win in his first race this season.
Yeah, you think if a driver does really, really well here in the rain and just clocks out on the rest of the field, he's probably going to do pretty good in the dry also. It looks like this is Ian Joyner being UK and Ireland club. My guess is he's very familiar with this track, and so he's going to try and go out there and just get the pole and take the victory. Notice that Antonio Reese is not here today, so that'll lose him some points, and that'll close that Masters battle up just a little bit. We are done with qualifying, and we'll let this roll over to the race session, and we'll have our starting lineups here just in a moment.
And mark of a true professional, I have my microphone muted there. I apologize about that small little spook to you, Charles. Not the first time I've done that over the past 24 hours, and probably won't be the last for that matter. But hey, as you said, this qualifying session officially done and dusted. It's in our rearview mirror, and now we can look ahead to this race that lies ahead. And to do it, let's take a look at the starting grid. Starting from the pole is going to be Ian Joyner. Juan Garcia, the sponsor for today's broadcast of the Formula 4 Weekend Warriors here on Slow Motion Broadcasting, will start in P2. We have Edward Buchanan starting in 3rd. Next, Erasmus Fori off the back of 2 straight wins. His first 2 wins in the Weekend Warriors will start in 4th. Felix Samoas will line up in 5th. Jason Green will start alongside in 6th. Starting in 7th will be Sean Doyle. Fernando Afonso will grab your Spec 2 pole in P8. Andrew Hertz will start in 9th, with Soren Garrett rounding out our top 10.
Yeah, Jeff Wubker is going to be your Masters pole sitter starting in 11th. Just outside, another Masters driver, Chris Murakami in P12, came over from the Spec Racers for today. Dan Witzak in 13th, Kevin Adrian in 14th, Dustin Meaden in 15th, Jesus Rodriguez in 16th, Trenton Kramer starts 17th, Paul Jackson in 18th, Stevie Ray, the big boss here, starts in 19th, Shane Gleason in 20th, and rounding out, I think that's the 20 cars, because Guido is not driving, he's producing.
Yeah, so those are your 20 starters for this race here at Knockhill today, the 5th round of this championship, and we still have some fantastic races to look forward to. Coming up in 1 week's time, it will be Zandvoort Laguna Seca. We'll be returning to the UK for a small little run to the checkered flag. The final 5 races all going to be held in the United Kingdom of England land. We'll have Snetterton, followed by Silverstone, followed by Alton Park, Thruxton, and Donington Park will be the final races of this season. Thruxton with the FFs. Man, that's going to be fun. I know the Spec Racer Fords ran there for the Week 13 runoffs back around Christmas time, and the Formula Vs ran there last season, where our pal here on this broadcast, Mr. Guido Marzucchi, was able to win in Spec 1, but haven't seen the Formula Fords run there. That's going to be a fun one.
Yeah, I think so. I think obviously Alton Park is one of my, Snetterton actually is one of my favorites. Alton is obviously a great track. Silverstone National is, it's the old F1 circuit, so or the short club circuit, I guess, if you want to call it that. So, yeah, it's a nice little run through the UK. So we'll look forward to that, and there's some good tracks on there. So we'll enjoy all the racing always that we do here with the Weekend Warriors.
And nice little news in the world of Formula Fords. Of course, here with the FF Weekend Warriors, there are some alterations that are made to the schedule, but by and large, we follow the official schedule used by the Formula Ford official series here on the iRacing platform. Motorsports UK has been dictating the schedule over the past couple of seasons, which is part of the reason I think we ran in 3 tracks that weren't in the UK last season, and this season's still rather heavy with some British representation, which we won't mind one bit, but I do think it's a good thing that it's going to be put back in the hands of the community, the Formula Ford community, going to be voting over the next couple of weeks to decide the schedule for Season 3 of 2025. We're really looking forward to seeing what these drivers may cook up, and many of these racers that you see out there on the track are the ones that run in some official races as well, but they all run it in the Weekend Warriors, and they always look to put on a good show. This 40-minute long race that we have coming up, gonna have a whole lot of laps. It is gonna be a fun one, though. That pace car making the turn down pit lane. The field now in the hand of our pole sitter, Ian Joyner, who's gunned it. The green flag is out, and the drivers are on their way down into the first series of corners, which is not very conducive to overtaking. You may need to single file out. If you're going side by side, you have to have some stones and some luck on your side to try and get those moves done. Doesn't mean these drivers aren't going to go for it, at least in the mid-pack, but at the front of the field, it looks like they have single filed out. Ian Joyner finds himself in the race lead. Juan Garcia dropping back behind Edward Buchanan, but by and large, the field has made it there. Actually, nope, right as I say that, I think Soren Garrett's went off.
Yeah, there's a little contact there between Soren Garrett, it's the 303 of Shane Gleason, and it looks like that's the 789 of Dustin Beaton. I think maybe he pit started the race, so maybe not enough practice. So yeah, the bigger passing zone is going to be toward that final corner, and we'll see. Generally is the outside line that's got the better run through that corner, so we'll have to watch and see if that's the case here with the Formula Ford cars.
Yeah, just waiting to see what sort of quirks and features are going to rear their ugly head in this event. Let's take a look at a moment involving Garrett. I saw him spinning, and I think, oh yeah, it all started with a bit of a sideways snap from Fernando Afonso. That was coming out of turn 3. No harm, now no fun. No harm, no foul there.
Oh,
Second
there
tries
we go.
charm, as it's a spin coming out of the chicane through 5 and 6. I think the Gleason incident was all on his own as well. So just 2 independent spins. That chicane section super tough to try and nail down.
Yeah, it really is, and even that corner leading into the chicane is very tricky. It's really hard. It's really easy to get it wrong. Then you end up off in the gravel on the outside. You don't even get a chance to make the chicane. And so, yeah, that's kind of the trouble spot of this track, is in around that chicane area.
And gotta see these drivers eat the curbs, which, I mean, let's face it, in the world of open wheel racing, don't really see that too often, but here is certainly going to be an exception. You can shave feet off of your lap, which around a track as short as this one, that can make a huge difference come time for the end of 40 minutes of racing action. Looking at some battling going on for the final podium spot. Felix Simoes getting a move done on Juan Garcia. Trent Kramer losing out on a spot to Jesus Rodriguez a little bit farther in the back of the pack. As we take a look at a moment to see some of these drivers a little bit farther in the back. Here is Jeff Wubker in the 909 through the chicane. No issues there, but now all it, and I think yeah, there we go, into the wall. He
Yep.
just resigned himself to his fate. He didn't even try steering out of it.
Yeah, it just, he got off just too wide coming through the chicane. It happens. And I think he was still in the grass or the gravel trying to get back on the throttle and just lost that rear of that car. And yeah, just nowhere to go at that point, except it's a free ride to the infield care center, as it were.
It was Felix Samoa's had a terrible run hang through turn number 3 a couple of moments ago. He dropped down like a rock through the running order after a trip through the gravel and has another sideways snap coming out of the chicane. There's a driver, the number 31 car, now down 2 spots from where he started in this race. Finds himself in 7th, 1 spot in front of your Spec 2 leader of Fernando Afonso. Ian Joyner is still your leader overall, with Chris Murakami leading in the Masters category. There's Alfonso and Murakami. They may have a battle going on in the not too far off future. Here's a Hornet's Nest right behind him. Basically, the rest of the field covered by practically nothing. You can see some side-by-side racing involving Garrett's maybe flaring up down into the final corner at the front of the field. Joyner, as much as he's looking to try and pull away and have another dominant win like he had at this race 1 season ago, Edward Buchanan is still keeping toe with him.
Yeah, Buchanan's doing a great job just keeping the gap there and maintaining the distance. He's only a half second back. And we're just getting started. We're only 4 minutes into this race, so it could be Buchanan gets a chance to make the move, or Joyner just checks out. So we'll kind of see how that goes as we progress.
And so a lot of stuff left to be determined between now and the checkered flag, as Stevie Ray may have had a moment. He's dropping down the running order. I think, yeah, there must have been some sort of moment involving Stevie. He's now down to 19th, the last of the cars on the lead lap, and here is a moment for the driver of the 911 car. He's heading his way through that, I believe it's turn 7, and just losing it.
Yep, I think if you ask Stevie what he did wrong, I think he just was a little wide and didn't quite make the apex. Maybe carried a little too much speed into the corner and just couldn't get the car to turn in on the apex, and ended up too much steering and just looped it around. So obviously, luckily, didn't hit anything. So, and he had a good start. So he was up like 5 positions before that. So there's a chance that he can make up some of that time. He's just on the tail right behind Gleason, only about a second and a half.
Turn 7 around this track is such a unique ride. Clark Bend, I feel like it should be called Pyramid Bend, because it feels like you're driving over top of a pyramid that's been buried in the ground as you're heading through there. The apex is basically on the top of the hill. The track builds up, so you have a lot of grip on entry, and then as you hit that apex, the track just falls away from you, so you're in for a world of trouble. Here's a moment involving Garrett's yet again having troubles through the 5 and 6 chicane. These drivers really struggling with that section, which, I mean, from my personal experience running around here, can't necessarily say that they are alone in that regard. I have had many, many moments off through that section.
Yeah, I think it's just that's the fastest line through there, is just clobber those curbs, both left and right as you're going through that chicane, just trying to straight line it as much as you can. But the downside of that is you're just bouncing through there, so you can't really do a lot of corrections as you're working your way through that chicane, because obviously the car's really not making a lot of contact with the ground, and you see how easy it is to just kind of lose it from underneath you.
As we're continuing to see the laps get put away, the thing with this race, and it was something that we didn't see too much last season based off the fact the rain was held in incredibly soggy conditions. I say the rain was held. The rain was certainly held out there on the racetrack as the race continued on. But now that we're running in the dry, you get to see how short these lap times are. The driver's a little bit farther in the back. They're still well far below a 1 minute lap time around here. So we are only less than 7 minutes into this race, and Ian Joyner is about to start lap 9. These laps are going to go all the time. These drivers are going to be pacing around the track all the time. It is going to be a hectic and fast-paced race here. And I want to say, Ian Joyner and the pace that he has shown at the north end of the field, he has been quick. He actually set the fast lap of the race not terribly long ago. As Soren Garrett's has had a moment, he's actually left the session. Not a good start for the driver of the number 21 car. Had some moments through the chicane, and I think he may have had another one this time into turn number 3.
Yep, same thing that Stevie did a little earlier, is just maybe carrying too much speed and just couldn't get the car turned in enough without losing the rear end. And yeah, I was kind of looking at the lap times. The slowest time last time by was Wubker, who's just come out of the pits and is a couple laps down after having to take his fast repair. Is a 53.7. So yeah, even the slowest cars on the track are well below that 1 minute mark. So we're going to end up with a 45 lap race, something like that at the end of this. So yeah, these guys are getting put through the paces today.
Yeah, pacing around this track incredibly quickly. I would love to try and work out what the average speed around here is. This track, potentially, I say potentially, I believe with all of my heart that it is the shortest track that we'll be running at all season long. Just 1.25 miles, so it is super short around here. Every single lap goes by in the blink of an eye. These drivers continuing to run around here. It is a fast-paced race, and we're going to be having some fun here today. Here's Rasmus Vori. He's occupying the final podium spot, but he is not alone in that battle. He's got Juan Garcia, the sponsor of today's broadcast, running right behind in fourth. Jason Green and Sean Doyle running at the small little 4-car pack, heading their way through the final corner, as here's a moment involving Shane Gleason in the 303, this time heading into 1 and 2.
Yep, as we're coming down through 2, and looks like here we're coming in here. Yep, and that was a little curb assist as well, but pretty much the same thing. With a little touch by Stevie as he went by. Yeah, same type of issue is just getting the car stopped. As you can see, you're having to take so much curb that you're losing contact, really good contact with the ground. And as we know, these cars are mechanical grip, not necessarily aero grip. There's a little bit of aero there, but not a lot. So anytime you're losing touch with the track surface, it's going to make things difficult to get the car stopped, get the car turned, and you're seeing what happens when you get it wrong. But everybody else is getting it right. And we're still on board now here with Joyner. The gap's still only about 0.6 of a second up the front between him and Edward Buchanan. Rasmus Fiore is up a position. He's about almost 4 seconds back. And then he has just a group of cars behind him.
And I wonder at this early stage of the race, if you are Edward Buchanan, are you starting to strategize how exactly to tackle this race? Are you thinking, okay, I don't think there's a good overtaking opportunity. I'm just going to hold behind Joyner as we see Trent Kramer coming in for a very early pit stop. I was just going to raise a strategy content. I'm not sure if that is a scheduled stop from Kramer or otherwise. Rather early to pull into pit lane as we take a look at a replay here involving Kevin Adrian in the number 10 car. This is through 1 and 2, loses it on entry and takes a spin on the inside of turn number 2. That's going to be an unfortunate moment for him, not going to pick up major damage as a result of all of that, and rejoins without any further incident, only just. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's, it may be Trenton may be trying to play a little game where he's just going to undercut, at the 10-minute mark. I think with these shorter tracks, I think you can kind of get away with extending that overcut or undercut depending on where you are. I think that the pit open time is a lot bigger window than at some of the bigger tracks. So I think maybe this is just a chance for him to get in some clean air and get the undercut working, as we see Stevie Ray coming in and taking his pit. Usually our first pit taker, but this time he got jumped by Trenton. So maybe just getting out there, getting clean air, you can run by yourself and you can work on your line and make your laps as quick as possible. And if I'm up front with Buchanan with 7/10 or coming up to 8/10 deficit, he may be looking at the same thing. Do I come in early? Do I just stay back here and save fuel behind the lead car and maybe make my pit stop a bit shorter? So there's lots of strategy involved in this, and we'll see how it all plays out as we see Dan Wicksack in the pits now.
Yeah, so that is Wicksack down pit lane. I was going to ask whether or not that call from Kramer to come down pit lane was a little bit on the early end. I mean, he has been joined by several other racers as it stands presently, so I guess it is... It's odd. I guess a racetrack like this, considering how short the laps are, maybe it could be a good one to pull off an early stop.
Yeah, it may be, and we've seen it. If I'm just kind of thinking about our history with the Formula Fords, at a track that's a bit bigger that pit window may be from the 10 or 11-minute mark up to about the 30-minute mark. But it seems like with the shorter tracks, like say maybe in Oschersleben, where you're doing a lot more braking and cornering, then it seems like that you can extend that pit window just a little bit. So he's probably, if I have my guess, he's probably right on the edge. But Trenton's a really good driver, and I think he pretty much knows his fuel number going as he's out there.
And you look at the drivers who have come down the pits already, very talented racers in their own regard. Good to have some strategy content in a race like this. These drivers going to be trying to figure out the best way for their race to go about. Because, I mean, a racetrack like this, as fun as it is to run around, outside of turn 9, there aren't too many heavy braking zones where you can actually go for a move. Granted, turn 1's a good a good braking opportunity. Overtaking opportunity, on the other hand, not so much, as we see a moment for Shane Gleason. That is a simple half spin coming out of the final corner, and I think he may have decided to call it a day shortly thereafter.
Yeah. Is he? No, he's still out on the track. He's still moving, so he's still out there running around. But yeah, definitely, maybe he just had some traffic he had to wait on, so he's just giving himself clear his head. There he is in the background of this shot behind, was that Samoas? So the 31, yep. So yeah, so it is one of those that strategy is going to be critical. And yeah, you saw Gleason there with a little half spin. Pretty simple, straightforward. He got off the track, got let any cars that need to go by, and then rejoined.
And speaking of going by cars, I wonder how Ian Joyner is going to tackle the lap traffic, because you can see it slowly approaching. I think if we get a wide shot here, you may see the car a little bit farther up the road. There you go. That right there, I believe, unless I'm very much mistaken, may potentially be Paul Jackson. Potentially. Actually, no, my apologies. That's Dan Witzak, currently classed in 16th at the present moment. So that is going to be an interesting dilemma for your race leader of Ian Joyner. He's still got Edward Buchanan right in tow, and Buchanan just at the fast lap of the race last time by at a 51.257. So Buchanan, he's been keeping tabs with Joyner, and he is still kicking on those hyperjets. I think Buchanan may be the driver we have to keep tabs on, unless he has a big mess up during the strategy. If he nails that down, he may be golden.
Yeah, maybe. It's still early days yet, just 15 minutes in, but we're coming up to that midpoint of the race. We see Gleason moving over and letting this group pass. And yeah, Witzak obviously pitted early to come in and get his fuel, but you could kind of see, obviously, with the short tracks that we're running on, he put him in kind of in the crosshairs for being put a lap down. Now, obviously, he'll unlap as the leaders come into the pits, but that might be quite a ways down the road. That might be another 15 minutes from now. So he's going to have to probably give this up and just kind of be gentleman about it and move over, let these two guys go by, or go off in the gravel, and let these guys go and let them go fight. As we see, yep, there he goes. He just moves over, lets these two guys go on by, let them fight their battle, and then he'll just kind of tuck in, see if he can get a little bit of a draft off of them, maybe save a little bit of fuel, which may work to his benefit if he's short fueled.
And we'll have to see how this strategy works out for Dan Witzak. We said right towards the top end of the show, he has a clean record thus far in the Spec 2 category here for Season 2 of 2025. Yet to lose a race. He's been very fast in that Spec 2 category. As it stands presently, he's not even first in that class, not even second or third or fourth for that matter. Finds himself in P5 of the Spec 2 racers. And Fernando Afonso, your current Spec 2 leader, finds himself in 8th at the present moment. So we'll have to see how the other Spec 2 drivers manage that strategy. We did get a clean sweep from Monty last season. He ended up winning 11 out of 12 races in the Masters class. So let's see if Dan Witzak will be able to keep those hopes of having a season sweep alive, or if his streak will end at 4 in a row.
Yeah, we'll keep an eye on that. It's very difficult, obviously, to sweep the entire season. I know you and I have commentated on some leagues where that's happened. But it was pretty easy to say, yeah, the reason is because this guy was far and away better than everybody else. This league is a much tighter league. Obviously, these guys know each other quite well and race hard. And like I said, yeah, it just basically is, if you show up at all 12 races and, And obviously, I think Monty may have taken a week off and just decided not to go. I don't know because I don't remember, to be fair.
Neither do
So
I.
yeah. So it's very difficult to sweep. It's a really good field in every class here. So the pressure is on week in and week out. So it's very difficult to just go through the entire season sweeping. I don't think even the great and powerful Marco Panero in the Spec Racer did that. Even though he won the championship like 3 or 4 seasons in a row.
Yeah, Marco Panero, I remember him towards the end of a couple of seasons ago with the Spec Racer Fords. He had 1,000 points, which is just absolutely absurd in a series like this. I'm not sure if that was his final points tally, considering drops and everything of the sort. That's still absolute madness. Marco Panero, very quick driver, and didn't he win at Long Beach for the Spec Racer Fords last week? I'm going to have to pull up my notes now. So, yeah.
He did indeed.
That checkered flag.
Yeah, wasn't even expecting to be there. He just shows up and wins. I mean, it's just crazy.
It's just like, oh, they're racing at this track. It's like, already bet. And then he gets into the series for the first time in, I think, a season and a half, and then immediately returns to victory lane. I know a few times Stevie has joked on the Racing Line podcast, which, by the way, you can catch on the Ray Esports YouTube channel every single Tuesday night. He has kind of joked about introducing a Spec Alien category that you can see in the Sim Racers Group F4 Championship broadcasted on Wednesdays here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. I feel like for the Formula Fords, Ian Joyner, they were kind of joking at the time. I think it was in reaction to the performance he put on at this track 1 season ago that he needs to be in an Alien class. Ian Joyner just in a class all of his own 1 season ago. As it stands presently, he has still got Buchanan right in tow, as we're seeing Andrew Herds come in from 3rd of the Spec 2 racers, now 11th overall.
Yep, and we'll see. So now that we get some of the Spec 2 drivers coming into the pits, we're going to see where Dan Witzak shakes out here. We'll see what the gap is, and it kind of will give us an idea of where we expect him to end up once the rest of the Spec 2 fields dropped in. So we'll keep an eye out for that and just monitor it as we. Andrew Herds is not going to be a good barometer of that. 23.3 stopped, and that's 10 seconds slower than everybody else who's been in the pits thus far.
Yeah, so that is rather slow. Clearly not giving his iRacing mechanics their healthy dosage of Red Bull to get as quick of a pit stop as possible. That's the second time in as many days that I've mentioned Red Bull in the broadcast. So, hey, Red Bull, if you're tuning into this, considering the repair damage that may be inflicted upon that team after that crash that Yuki Tsunoda had in practice 2 days ago. I guess it was an FP2. I can't really remember. At this point, ever since I graduated high school, days don't really exist to me. It's just like one day, another. It's like, oh, here's a holiday. Happy Easter, everybody. And then next thing you know, it's like I can't tell whether it's been a week, whether it's been a couple of days. Calling people I'm working with Dutch when their real name is Frank. It happens to the best of us, I guess. Potentially, I'll know there was an off-track moment for Afonso.
Yeah, it does indeed. Is the sun out? Yep, it's daytime. Is the sun not out? No, it's night. Because we're here. So yeah, we're getting some good information from Father Guido, our producer here, saying we're going to have to keep an eye on the off tracks, because we have a couple of drivers who are dangerously close to getting that drive-through penalty, so which obviously will shake things up a bit. It's obviously because it's a short track. The pit lane is not necessarily the longest in the world, but it's still going to be a major penalty if you have to do a drive-through here.
And really, it's pretty bad, the fact that these drivers are racking up the incident points as quickly as they are, considering the fact that we are just barely over the halfway mark of this race. 21 coming up to 22 minutes now on the clock in this 40-minute long race. These drivers have been collecting those incident points like Pokemon cards, and based off the fact that we're already seeing some drivers get dangerously close to that 13x limit, I'm getting bad flashbacks to a couple of seasons ago when we were running at Cadwell Park in the rain, and I think we had a decent chunk of the field actually disqualified because of incidents. Obviously not running in the rain today, but a track like this, which is basically as narrow as an alleyway that you'd see in New York City, it really is a tough task for these drivers to keep those incident points down to a minimum.
Yep, absolutely. That's part of racing is you've got to keep the car in the racing lines. Obviously, it's one of these that we said that chicane, you're trying to straight line it and carry as much speed through there every time as we're riding along with Fernando Afonso leading the Spec 2 and P8 overall. So yeah, it's one of those that you want to, you want to go as fast as you can, but you have to be aware that, you go through that chicane and catch a little bit of the gravel on the left hand side, and that's a 1X, and you've only got a certain number of those before you have to drive through and serve a penalty for it. And you get too many more, and you get disqualified. And that would be a shame considering we're only talking about a 20-car field today. So yeah, it's one of those that we'll have to keep an eye on as well. It's just another part of the racing that we're going to have to deal with.
And I do want to give a shout out to a driver running in this race. Running pretty strong as it stands at the present moment. Trying to remember who I was going to mention. I believe it's Dustin Meaden. So due to the somewhat unique way that iRacing is working at the present moment, for us to bring you this broadcast, we had to join in as a spotter for some of these drivers. And Dustin, as it stands presently, in that Spec 2 category, found himself in 12th at the present moment. He is holding on to only 3X at the present moment. So I shouldn't have said that, because now he's going to hit that 13X limit in the span of the next lap and a half. But he is still running pretty strong as it stands presently. 3X halfway through this race. That is a pretty impressive feat. A side by side between Garcia and Vori at the front of the field.
Yep. Another big battle up here at the front as we're on board here with Juan Garcia tracking down Vori, who looks human today. It doesn't look like he's just going to be one of those hard chargers. He's having a good race, but running P3, but really hasn't made any headway. He's only up one position since the start of the race, so hasn't done a lot of made a lot of headway. As a matter of fact, the only car he's managed to get by is the car that just looks like it just spun him. I think that might have been Viore just getting maybe a little loose, and then there was nowhere for Garcia to go. Garcia was right on his tail, and there was nowhere for him to go. So it's a tough situation, but I know there was no animosity toward that is with that contact for sure.
And let's see what happens with Vori heading his way through turn 7. Yeah, small little tap. Yet again, an incident heading through turn number 7. I gotta say, as much as it was Garcia spinning Vori around, a moment like that is rather common heading through that section of the racetrack. You get a little bit of a wiggle on the exits. I mentioned earlier on how the track falls away from you on corner exit coming out of Clark Bend of 7. And you have to lift off a little bit. In the process of that, you're going to get checked up a bit. And unfortunately, it's going to come back to bite Vori on the butt. He finds himself an 8th at the present moment. But not the most unheard of moment to have hang through that section of the racetrack.
No, absolutely not. And obviously, Jason Green now up to P3. He took advantage of that, managed to get by both Viore and Afonso Garcia, there. And so he's managed to pick up to P3. So he's up now 3 positions. Hard charge of the race. Jesus Rodriguez, well done. Up 9 spots, running P7. Oh, I'm not sure what that was there. That like maybe Jason broke a little earlier than Garcia expected, and maybe he took some evasive maneuvers in anticipation of not having another wreck.
And as that's going on for the final podium spot, the battle up at the front is starting to heat up a bit between Joyner and Buchanan. Now about 0.2 of a second between those racers. There they are on screen now. Joyner still leading Buchanan, but Buchanan maybe got to look for a move around the outside down to turn number 1. That's going to be some brave stuff. Not close enough to get that move done, but clearly Joyner feeling the burn from the driver of the number 5 car right behind. And considering that we are in the final 14 minutes of this race, these drivers will have to start considering their pit stops. What strategy is going to be the good one for these drivers? Do you do an undercut? Do you do an overcut? Do you do a trim? Whatever you want to do, kind of Mohawk, whatever you want to do strategy-wise, what's going to be the call for Buchanan? As much as he is close, being close to a driver is one thing, catching up to them is one, overtaking is a different dilemma in its own regard, and around a track like this, that is a saying that really has to be said. Buchanan, he may look to do a different strategy from Joyner just to have the opportunity to jump in front of him without having to risk any sort of collision.
Yeah, and I think I'm looking at, I'm kind of trying to play myself as a driver here. I'm looking at everything that I've got available to me, looking at our timing and scoring, which we would have, in the sim as well, about where the location of other cars are. And I think I would probably want to overcut if I had the opportunity, because I think the way the traffic is spread out here and as short as this lap is, I would be afraid that if I undercut the leader, I would probably end up getting caught up in traffic that held me up. So I think I would probably want to try and overcut if I could.
Yeah, that's a good point to raise there, Charles. Considering how small this track is, you come down pit lane, you're going to find yourself involved in an absolute hornet's nest of drivers probably battling for position, not even lap down cars, just battling for spots. And when you find yourself in a situation like that, you're going to be in for a world of trouble. These drivers at the front having to deal with traffic in their own regard. They just had to deal with Jeff Wub, I believe it was a couple of moments ago, now having to deal with Stevie. So lap traffic continuing to be a factor in this race. Joyner and Buchanan now separated by about 3/4 of a second. Fernando Alfonso has come down pit lane from the lead in Spec 2. That's going to give the lead in that category to Jesus Rodriguez, at least for now. At the front of the field, though, those two have now officially cleared the traffic, and with 11 minutes left to go, I have a feeling we may see Joyner or Buchanan come into the pits either this lap or the lap that will follow. Fernando Alfonso now on pit exit. He will exit out in 12th. Jesus Rodriguez still in the Spec 2 lead as Joyner and Buchanan have stayed out for another lap.
Yeah, and that's they'll continue on. Yeah, it's probably 2 or 3 laps left before they're going to have to come in for fuel. And as you can see, the lap traffic of cars that have already pitted, that's Alfonso right there, end up kind of in between the leader and second place. So that's not where you want to come out after a pit stop, as you're trying to get your tires back up to the proper temp, and you're carrying a little more fuel than you were before you went in, so you're trying to readjust yourself to the car balance. So he managed to get through, and it has opened that gap up to 1 second, but Buchanan's done a really good job of being able to make that gap back up. So I think maybe he's got a little more pace in the car he's been showing, and he is just basically kind of just riding behind and maybe saving some fuel. So maybe he may be looking at the overcut and maybe a short pit stop just from the fact that he's able to save a little bit behind Joyner.
And as we were following those two drivers a couple of moments ago, want to mention that Fernando Alfonso has exited out right behind your P2 runner of Edward Buchanan. So talk about exiting out in a good little window out there on the racetrack. That's pretty good to be right behind one of the fastest, if not the fastest race car out there on circuit. So Fernando Alfonso may have just done himself some wonderful favors in that 222 car. Still going to be in contention for that Spec 2 win come time for the checkered flag in a tick over 9 minutes time. Joyner Buchanan still out there on the circuit. Every single time they run on exit, I'm thinking, oh, are they going to decide to do it now? Are they going to decide to do it? Nope. It's every single time they don't do it. It's Gleason having a big moment. That's coming out of the chicane.
Yeah, he managed to hang on to it and keep it off the wall. So great job by Gleason there just to get the car back under control. And yeah, I'm kind of looking. Alfonso's done a great job. I think Witzak got into a little bit of traffic there, so he's got a 7-second gap over Witzak, who pitted much earlier. So he's in the driver's seat now for Spec 2. It's going to be basically where is Rodriguez going to come out when he comes out of the pits, and that might be the battle for the top step of the Spec 2 class.
Those Rasmus Vorjez coming to the pits along with Chris Murakami and Kevin Adrian. Clearly, the pit cycle has now begun for these drivers, and joining them down pit lane is going to be Ian Joyner. I just realized that was an unintentional pun. He's going to be joined by Buchanan, who came in with a whole head of speed in the number 5 machine. That is going to be borderline. Either he just had the sketchiest pit entry in the world, or he picked up some sort of penalty. I'm going to be keeping eyes to see whether or not he picked up a speeding penalty as a result of all that. But here's Juan Garcia Garcia going to jump into the race lead. He has yet to come into the pits, though, so that will not be true position out there on the circuit. Joyner and Buchanan, though, they're coming into the pits at the exact same time. Joyner spending about a second less down in the pit stall, and even though he spent much more time down pit lane compared to Buchanan, 28.4 seconds down pit lane compared to Joyner's 31.3. It is still going to be Joyner up in front. Jesus Rodriguez has come down pit lane from the lead in Spec 2. Let's see how this is going to work out for him and Fernando Afonso. There is a 222 car out there on the racetrack. This is going to be a drag race between these two for the lead in Spec 2. And strangely enough, despite being behind one of the fastest cars out there on the circuit, Jesus Rodriguez able to jump in front with Juan Garcia now at the front of the field coming into the pits.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, Jesus manages to get out before Afonso could get around, so he manages to hang on to the lead of the Spec 2 category. Obviously, nothing in it between Joyner and Buchanan as Garcia is in the pits for his pit stop. And it looks like he's going to come out, we'll see, in maybe third or fourth. Is he going to be able to hold on to that position? Now, here comes Green by. So he's going to come back out in fourth spot. Green's going to manage to stay in third.
Continuing to see these racers run around the racetrack in the dying breaths of this race. At the front of the field, though, the fight is still alive between Joyner and Buchanan. 0.2 of a second, teetering below and above that. Now heading down the railway straightaway off into turn number 8. Buchanan looking for a move maybe on the outside line down into turn number 9 of Taylor's. That hairpin going to be the premier overtaking opportunity. May end up seeing a swapperoo at the end of this race. Joyner not getting a good exit, though. Buchanan got to pull alongside, hang down the start-finish straightaway. Off into turn number 1 to start lap 41. It's going to be Buchanan looking to that outside line down into the Duffus dip. Not close enough to get that move done, but Joyner clearly feeling the pressure as much as that 8 car and that driver behind the wheel of it has always been cool as a cucumber. Buchanan has matched his number and even had his number throughout this race. Buchanan may at certain points have more confidence in Joyner, which is rather surprising considering how dominant Joyner was in this race 1 season ago.
Oh, as we see a little contact between Gleason and somebody could not catch with that car, but they were coming through the corner and just made contact on the exit. And
may have been Kevin
10
Adrian.
car. Yep, Kevin Adrian, and just you could just see a little bit of contact there, shooting Gleason off the track. Yeah, I was kind of watching the entry to that final corner between. We're going to get it again.
Here's another angle of all of that. You can see
There it was.
a little bit
wheel
of
of wheel
netcode
and broke his
potentially involved in
suspension.
that.
Yep. So we'll get back to the racing here. So a couple of laps ago, we were watching that battle into the final corner, and Buchanan took the wide line and tried to undercut and or cross him over on the exit, and was able to get up to about a half a car length at the start-finish line. So he kind of got a gauge of what he might want to try and do for that final lap, and we'll see if Joyner is going to make any defensive moves to try to keep him from making that run coming the wide side out of that final corner.
Oh, as you can see, this rather spicy moment involving Jason Green, Juan Garcia, and I believe that's Paul Jackson that they just had to contend with heading off through the final corner there of turn number 9. I thought we were going to see Green go for the dive heading off into the final turn, but no, he did not go for it. However, in all of that, he's now got practically nothing between himself and Juan Garcia. Some racing going on involving Trent Kramer and Fernando Afonso. Something's happened to Afonso because despite it being nothing between himself and Jesus Rodriguez earlier on, I think he's had some sort of moment. Kevin Adrian has picked up a black flag in this race, so those incident points coming back to bite him in the butt. Maybe that incident with himself and Shane Gleason earlier on could have contributed to that. I think Stevie Wright picked up a black flag for incidents as well. Here's Adrian heading down into turn number 9. I think there may have been some extracurricular drama, and there we go. Oh, it was actually contact with himself and Stevie.
I think that was actually Chris Murakami that was the Rising Sun livery of Chris Murakami. So you can see that. I think that was what put Adrian over the limit. But I also heard that Stevie Ray got the a drop through for incident points as well. So that put him back down, and Murakami is still safe in 12th Still got a pretty good gap up back to Stevie Ray, who's running second in the Masters class.
I will throw my blame for mistaking Murakami and Stevie Ray's car to the fact that Trading Paints, for some reason, does not work too well. Our SMB colleague here, Mr. Joshua Wilkie, has had the same paint scheme on that car from my perspective for the past 2.5 seasons, and I have run Trading Paints every single week. It just will not, for some inexplicable reason, update that car. And Stevie and Murakami's race car, at least the default schemes on iRacing are rather similar. And look at this side by side between Green and Garcia heading off into 1 and 2. That could have ended in tears. Instead, it's going to result in Garcia sliding down the inside into turn number 3 and getting that move done to jump his way up into P3. That was slick.
That was a slick move, and Jason did try to make the over-under on him to get that position back. Just no room there on the exit of that corner, so he's got to settle for P4 for the time being and try and keep the pressure up on Garcia.
Still watching this race develop at the front of the field. It was a bad lap traffic encounter involving Edward Buchanan not terribly long ago that has caused that gap to balloon out at the north end of the field. As here's Fernando Alfonso at the moment through turn number 1 and 2. As that track fell away, the grip fell away too. And for the driver who at one point in time we thought was in the catbird seat to win it in the Spec 2 category, not going to be enough today.
No, not going to be enough tonight. He tried, but you could just see the car getting light coming over the crest of the hill. The compression at the bottom just kicked the rear end out, and, you know, he did a good job to keep it off the barrier. But, yeah, that's going to cost him a chance to get back up there. And unless something strange happens to Jesus Rodriguez, I think Jesus is in the driver's seat there for the Spec 2 win. And this battle is now caught back up. Buchanan is doing a great job of closing that gap on Joyner. And he's made it a race again. I think we're probably going to be at maybe 1 to go, and with a 51.07 fastest lap of the race for Buchanan.
Yeah, Buchanan putting in a stormer of a lap last time by, about 0.7 of a second quicker than Ian Joyner in just that last lap alone. I think they may be on the white flag, that or it's going to be borderline as whether or not they grab the white or the checker this time by. It was extremely close. And one thing to raise, talking about fuel strategy, they end up seeing some drivers get whacked with the Adam Thompson Trophy as a result of that very close call to the line. But here we go, Buchanan having a run heading down into turn number 9 for potentially the last time in this race. Buchanan looking to the outside line. Joyner taking that defensive approach on the inside. Not close enough for Buchanan. That may be it. It's going to be a drag race, though, coming out of the final corner. Buchanan having a whole lot of momentum coming right to the line. The white flag is in the air, and Buchanan finding that white flag with the race lead, but Joyner still fighting back on the inside line down into turn number 1 and 2. Joyner taking the race lead. Buchanan, if that was the checkered flag, he would have gotten the deal, and I think they crossed that line with nothing left on the clock, so it was about as close as you could possibly get. iRacing's coding, deciding this race one way or the other. And as much as Buchanan had that pace over the past couple of laps, he had a big sideways snap coming out of the chicane. I don't think it's going to work out too well for him. You can see him pushing that number 8 car, the number 5, I should say, to absolute limit of adhesion, but it's not going to be enough at the end of this race. That gap has ballooned out between Joyner and Buchanan. Coming out of the final corner for the last time, Ian Joyner going to return to the Formula Ford Weekend Warriors as your reigning champion, and for the first time this season, Ian Joyner going to win it here at Knockhill.
Wow, great race by those two drivers. It was nip and tuck the entire way. So we're getting the run here. Jason Green managed to get back around Juan Garcia. I'm not sure what happened there, but he manages to finish 3rd, get the podium. Garcia in 4th, Samoas in 5th, Sean Doyle 6th.
Yes, I think there must have been something involving Juan Garcia based off the fact that his final lap was a 53.3. Jesus Rodriguez, in a rather dramatic twist of events, is going to become your first Spec 2 winner outside of Dan Witzak to actually win it in that class this year. Rodriguez finishing in 8th to win it in the Spec 2 category. Fernando Alfonso going to round at your top 10. Dan Witzak put on a nice recovery drive. You can see him in the back, a shot there in the 413. It is not his 5th win in a row, so the season sweep chances are going to be over for him, but still a P3 result in that Spec 2 category. 11th overall. Chris Murakami won it in the Masters class, but holy cow, Buchanan, I wouldn't blame him at all if he was a little bit upset with iRacing deciding to throw the white on that lap instead of the checkered, because that was very, very close.
Yeah, it was indeed. And I think they're lining up for something there, Ron. What do you think we're about to see here?
I think we may see some curb-related shenanigans hang down into the final corner because they're coming out of turn 7 right now through the long railway straightaway, which technically is turn number 8 around here. Haven't mentioned that at all throughout this broadcast, but here's Green. Here he goes into the runoff area, bang into the wall. He's going to get joined. Oh my God, we just had some drivers ballpark it.
Yep, absolutely. I think most everybody's ballparked it. And 3 cars didn't quite get the elevation. Everybody else over the barrier and off the track and yeeted back to the pits. Knockhill, great race, great track. Not the best for jumping. There was your one opportunity there, but as you can see, it's fine. It's fine, Jason.
Just listening to that engine putter his way into a stall as he has now towed back the pit lane to round off this race here at Knockhill. What a race though. That was absolutely fantastic, and I think I'll give these drivers a little bit more time to potentially join the interview waiting area to have a chat with us. Charles, I will pass it off to you to have a chat with our race winner who's up there in the interview waiting area, Ian Joyner.
Yeah, let's bring Ian in here and we'll have a chat with him. Talk about this race. Ian, congratulations on the race win. Obviously, back-to-back Knockhill wins for you, I think, from what I've heard from Ryan. Obviously, today, very dry, but you had your hands full with Mr. Buchanan behind you the entire race.
Yeah, that was pretty intense. It did kind of flew by, but also didn't fly by. 40 minutes around Knockhill by yourself is pretty hard, but doing it, trying not to mirror watch, trying to just pretend Ed's not there, to be honest, but it's quite hard to ignore him, and especially as we got side by side a few times as well. I really tried to break the draft, but just never quite got it done. So I guess it made it more fun to watch.
Yeah, it was a great fun to watch, and a second here and a second there, and we might be talking to Ed as the race winner because he got a great run out of the final corner on coming to the white flag and actually had passed you at the start finish line, and it was literally 2 or 3 seconds gap between getting the white and getting the checker there at the very end.
Yeah, I didn't really notice that actually. But yeah, good point. Well, I guess I'll just be grateful for that then. I was just on holding the inside, but yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is, I think this is your first race back this season. Is this the beginning of a run, or is this just a one-off for you?
No, I hope so. Yeah, to be honest, just had family events and things the last few weeks. I was doing some racing with the Almeida Racing Academy as well, so that just tied me up a little bit. So I knew I wasn't going to be able to do much, but weekends are looking a little bit clearer now. So I'm not 100% sure I'm around for the rest of them, but hopefully more than what I've done so far anyway.
All right, sounds good. So we'll let you give any thanks or shout outs, and then we'll let you go celebrate your victory.
Yeah, thanks again for the league. Thanks so much for the coverage. I just got a text off my dad again. It's so cool sort of seeing it so well produced, and it's nice to see. So yeah, thanks to you guys. Thanks to everyone here again. It's just really nice to be racing with these guys. Such sort of just generally good on track, and got a really good race for it as well. So yeah, thank you everyone.
All right, thank you, Ian. Congratulations. We'll see you next time.
See you there.
That was Ian Joyner. Yep.
Sorry, I was just came back in time. My apologies for that, Charles. But that
No
was
worries.
Ian Joyner, your race winner at the end of this race. I want to have a chat with the man on the other side of that battle right to the end of this race, Edward Buchanan, now joining us in the commentary booth. Edward, so close but no cigar. It was still a very valiant effort for you at the end of this race. Happy to talk us through it.
Well, Ian, just solid. I mean, he's solid as always. I was just hoping there was going to be a mistake somewhere that I could get a jump on him. I saw him in the gravel a few times. I don't know how many X's he racked up. I was maybe hoping for a DQ, perhaps.
Yeah, I'm not sure how many incident points he was on at the end of all of that, but still, it was that battle between you two right towards the end of this race, and that side-by-side fight right to the white flag. I thought it was a run to the checkered, if I'm being completely honest. It was very close between taking the white or taking that checkered flag. But I want to ask you about your perspective of that final end of the race battle, because that was intense.
Yeah, I wasn't gonna give up. There was a few cracks in the armor, and I was just hoping there was gonna be an opportunity to get in there. And he went defensive, and when you get defensive, sometimes you make a mistake. And just on the very last lap, it was just out of the chicane, caught some gravel, and that just lost me a little bit of space, so couldn't really battle for the last corner.
It was still a very good battle from my perspective to watch here in the commentary booth. I'm sure you had a heck of a lot of fun out there on the racetrack as well. It's been a good season for you up to this point, and I have a feeling that you will be bringing that car into victory lane at some point between now and the end of this season. Maybe able to do it for the next round of the championship at Zandvoort in 1 week's time. What are your thoughts heading into the next round of this championship?
Well, Zandvoort is very, very hard to get fast on. It's easy to get around, but to get a fast lap in, it is tricky. And I have been struggling in the pits, as you guys have been mentioning every race. So hopefully, I think I did better this one, and hopefully Zandvoort I can get a good pit time and not lose out 2 or 3 spots this time.
Well, from my perspective, I'll be keeping my fingers crossed, and you'll be able to bring us another good battle right towards the end of that race in 1 week's time. But Edward, thank you for joining us here in the commentary booth. And before we let you go and celebrate this P2, is there anybody you want to give a thanks to or shout out?
Oh, just all the admin for Weekend Warriors. It's a lot of fun. It brings iRacing a brand new level other than just the sprint races. So great fun, and always good because it's always a clean bunch of guys racing.
It is a very good feel that we got out there on track every single week, and awesome to see you be a part of it throughout this season. Edward, thank you for joining us here in the commentary booth, and well done on the P2.
Thanks.
And that right there was Edward Buchanan, your P2 finisher at the end of this race. And Charles, I believe you've had the opportunity to catch up with our Masters winner of Chris Murakami.
Yeah, let's bring Chris in and we'll have a chat with him real quick. Chris, congratulations on the Masters class win. So, you had some pretty good battles out there on the track. It was pretty tight. So what did you think of Knockhill? Is this your first time really getting out here and racing it?
Well, it's the first time with the Ray car. So, yeah, I only had maybe an hour or two before, yesterday. So, yeah, it's a fun track.
Yeah.
I kind of felt bad. I didn't put enough fuel in, and so I was gonna let the 2 guys in back of me pass me on the back straight before the last corner, and I didn't realize that Adrian was gonna make a pass there, and he ended up since I was slowing down. He kind of collided. I feel bad, so I apologize to him.
Yeah, we were curious about that. We saw or at least the replay of the incident. So yeah, I think that this is my first time with me doing a broadcast with the Rays here. But I really like this track. It makes for some really good, tight and close battles because it's just a short track. It's kind of like a British Lime Rock, more or less, where it's just tight all the way around and it's really quick laps. And it seems like it's made for some really good racing for these cars.
Yeah, I just happened to be, mainly by myself. Jesus was in front of me. I didn't quite have his pace. And so, yeah, it was, I was just putting laps in.
There you go. There you go. So Zandvoort next week. Are you gonna make the trek in for the Rays again next week?
Oh, next week? Ooh, right now I'm hitting about 50% of the tracks. So that one I'm not totally sure.
I got you. Understand. We'll let you go and celebrate your Masters class win today, and we'll let you give any thanks that you want to give before we let you get out of here.
Oh yeah. Thanks Juan for sponsoring it, and Steve for doing such a great job, and all the drivers and you guys for doing an awesome job covering it. It's always fun to go back and review it. And I'll see you guys in the SRF.
All right, sounds good.
All
Thanks,
right.
thanks, Chris.
Yep.
All right.
Hey, thank you. Take care.
And that right there was Chris Murakami, your winner in the Masters category at the end of this race. And it's a rare privilege, but we do have the opportunity to have a chat with Mr. Ray Esports himself, Mr. Stevie Ray, now joining us in the commentary booth. About $1 for every single time I feel like I needed a rim shot during one of these broadcasts. I feel like I would be able to make more money from these than I would from anything else. But Stevie, welcome into the booth, man. First off, how was the race here at Knockhill for you?
Yeah, let's not go there too much. This track will work you, man. Just little mistakes here and there, no incidents add up, and I think I had about 6 minutes left with 12 incidents, and thought, just slow down, pay attention, bring it home. And halfway through that lap, I lost concentration and got that extra one, so had to do the drive-through. So it was incidents, the pace wasn't there, the drive-through, I spun one. So yeah, if it went wrong, it could all go wrong.
I mean, I have absolutely no room to judge. I feel like if I was in this race, I probably would have ended up striking one of the pit walls around here. Or actually taking a look at the onboard shot from your perspective, heading through turn 7. I probably would have lawn darted it into one of those like spectator areas or something like that. I think there's actually a big tower somewhere around here. I may have ended up parking my car on top of one of that. I have the strange ability on iRacing to flip just about anything you put me in. So very good reason why I'm behind the microphone instead of behind the wheel.
Yeah, with my race, I probably should have attempted that, but I'm not as good as that as you guys are. So.
Yeah, we always like having you in the booth here, Stevie. But one thing that I wanted to ask you about all this is had a fantastic sponsor today in the form of Juan Garcia. But a little birdie told me that we may have some more sponsorship news to discuss here.
Yeah, really proud to announce that for the second half of the season, and I'm actually going to kick them up and start next week because we don't really have a sponsor for the 6th race, so they're going to get a deal, get 7 races instead of 6. But we're going to have Sulio Almeida and his Motorsports Program Academy. So yeah, that's quite a big deal. If anybody around any sim racing probably knows Sulio. He does a lot of coaching and real world stuff and radicals and GT3s and 4s, and it's going to be really great to have them on board.
Yeah, we were just hearing a couple of moments ago from Ian Jr., who I believe, unless I'm very much mistaken, was competing in some of those academy events throughout the season thus far. So that's part of the reason why he has not been able to join us up until this round. But really awesome to get a guy like him involved in a series like this. This Formula Ford Weekend Warriors series, and the entirety of the Weekend Warriors for that matter. I was actually having a chat a couple of weeks ago from someone who does official broadcasts for the Formula Ford series. They essentially said that the FF Weekend Warriors, now I'm not kidding when I say this, they said this verbatim, the FF Weekend Warriors are the best Formula Ford league out there. So you and all the admin team do some fantastic stuff behind the scenes to make all of these races possible. So really cool to see some fantastic sponsors across both here, the Formula V's, and the Spec Race before it's coming up later on this afternoon. Pull up in time and sponsor such a great series.
Yeah, I was really pleased. His motorsports manager, Mr. Greg Hubler, I've known for quite a while. He worked with me in the SCCA-based league in the early days and reached out to me and said that they were looking to do something, and it worked out really good. So, yeah, really proud and honored to have those guys with us starting next week. The SRFs, the second half of the season, we've got Alliance Autosport, a real-world prep shop and customer support for the real world spec racers. So that is awesome to have them back. The Formula V's, I mean, the members are taking care of that one, and how can you beat that? Super honored to see that every week. And then got a shout out to our current sponsor, the SRF, Clow Valve and Luke.
Yeah, Eric Luke.
Eric Luke, yeah. Great. He sponsored 4 of them with that. So it just, these guys, I keep saying it, but it's really true. The guys on track really give this league the views that it gets and the reputation it has, and that reputation gets around, and then we get people like Julio and Alliance wanting to be part of it. So good news all the way around. Looking good this season. Next season should be strong.
Yeah, really looking forward to seeing what the second half of this Weekend Warriors season has in store. The Formula Vs have been fantastic. Had a brilliant photo finish at VIR yesterday. This FF race was pretty fun as well, and those spec racer Fords coming up later on this afternoon are always really enjoyable. But Stevie, before we let you go and maybe get some practice in for that spec racer Ford race, I'll pass the floor off to you if there's any more thanks or shouts out you want to give before we let you go.
Now, our sponsors we've just covered. The biggest thanks I can give is to the guys on track. We had kind of a smaller group today, about half, 2/3 size, but it is Easter Sunday, and these guys still came out and put on a good show. So huge shout out to every one of our Weekend Warrior members. They make this league what it is. It's an honor to set them up and participate with them. So thanks to you guys. Always a great job in the booth. Great fun, and really look forward to watching the race back. So you guys take care, and we may see you later.
All right. Thanks, sir.
We'll wish you good luck in the Masters category for the Spec Race Ford race, so we can have a chat with you and have a chat about the race along with it. The sponsor discussion always good, but maybe having a chat with you, popping some champagne in Victory Lane for Masters later on, maybe a little bit more fun to recount the tale of the race.
Yeah, that's probably a bit of a reach, but we'll hope for it.
Yeah. I've seen Stranger Things. No, I'm just kidding. That's me. Stevie, thank you for joining us here in the booth, man, and always good to have a chat with you.
All right, thanks, guys. See you later.
And that right there was Mr. Ray Esports himself, Stevie Ray, joining us here in the commentary booth. And that will just about do it for the interviews. I think before we move off and talk about the next round at Zandvoort, we'll touch on the results here. Ian Joyner is your race winner. Edward Buchanan going to finish in P2. Jason Green rounding out your podium in third. We have Juan Garcia, the sponsor of today's broadcast, finishing in fourth. Felix Samoa is rounding out our top 5. Sean Doyle will finish in sixth. Rasmus Vori will finish in P7. Jesus Rodriguez wins it in Spec 2. Trent Kramer finishing right behind Rodriguez in 9th, with Fernando Alfonso rounding out our top 10.
Yep, Dan Whitsack finishes 11th and 3rd in the Spec 2. Chris Murakami gets the win in Masters, finishing 12th overall. Andrew Hurd's 13th, Kevin Adrian 14th, 15th is Dustin Beaton, Paul Jackson in 16th. Stevie Ray gets the second place in Masters with in P17. Jeff Wubker fills out the podium for Masters in P18. Shane Gleason 19th. Soren Garrett's in 20th, and I think that was the entire grid. So great job, great racing today.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic stuff here at Knockhill, and looking forward to the next round of the championship at Zandvoort. I'm going to have to look through to see exactly what configuration of Zandvoort we are running on. I believe, unless I am very much mistaken, it is the Grand Prix layout. So the full version of that track, no chicane like we had a couple of seasons ago. That is going to be some major fun. Zandvoort and its brand new version that they brought into iRacing a couple of seasons ago, a couple of years ago at this point. Just an absolute hoot. I was actually driving around there earlier, incidentally enough.
Yeah, it's that new layout is pretty incredible with the couple of big bank corners. I think turns 3 and 11, if I remember correctly. That's going to make for some interesting lines on the track, and then there's just the flow on that track is so great. I've driven the I think the GT4 there. I think I raced that a few seasons ago in another league, and just really great racing. So I'm looking forward to that. I think it'll make for a very interesting, very fun race here with the Formula Fords.
And just looking forward to the rest of the season schedule. And looking forward to that Spec Racer Ford race later on this afternoon. They're going to be running at Okayama. That will be quite a big departure from Long Beach 1 week ago. That is still going to be some fun. But as for this week's broadcast of the Formula Ford Weekend Warriors at Knockhill, that will just about do it. So for myself, Ron Maunz, Charles Boshell joining me in the commentary booth, and Guido Marzucchi working all the cameras in the virtual production hauler, I say thank you all so very much for watching. Have a great rest of your hour, and we hope to see you all for that Spec Racer Ford race later on this afternoon.